What is up? Welcome back to the SuperCoach Experience podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, the coach of the Xavier Turbos. Round one is in the books, and looking back, it is the highest scoring round one I've seen in a long, long time. I'm joined by the king of the high scoring rounds, and that's Timmy Moody, the coach of the Villi Army, 2021 champion, the year of the big scores. How are you feeling?
Yeah, great that SuperCoach is back. Hey, really pumped for it. 6 games wasn't enough last week. I was desperate to just get 8 weeks back into me, 8 games into a full week. So really looking forward to this week. Yeah, look, you said it was a high scoring round, and just looking at it, there was 38 players who scored 80 points or over, which is crazy. It's huge numbers without anyone actually going too bonkers. There was the 133 from Pappy, but just a lot in that really nice sweet spot.
Yeah, it was crazy, to be honest. And we all know, I was pretty, I kept repeating, I'm captaining Terrell May. Historically, round one is low. A lot of people pivoted and went turbo, and I was thinking I was a genius because Terrell May, he scored 80 points. Was I happy? I was actually pretty happy with it.
Yeah. But
just looking back at how the round went, it was a lot more open than I thought it was going to be. So I'm actually still okay with it. I'm ranked 67,000th. Looking back, I probably looked too deeply into it and probably just thought it was going to go that way too much and didn't give myself insurance in case something else happened. But it is what it is. We'll adapt, and
you make these sorts of decisions, and sometimes they'll pay off for you. And you made it with a lot of logic behind it. I was on the other side of it, just sort of thinking if Tommy does just get me a 50 and you get an 80 plus from thingy, I'll take that sort of thing. But I thought it was sort of more prepared to take that risk of wanting the upside that Tommy might have put up, but it wasn't that much difference, to be fair. What was it, 30, 40 points?
Yeah, 33 points. It's not the end of the world, and to be fair, an 80 is much better than a 30, so you definitely take it. But
it feels like a big deal, then there's other problems within my side that are bigger problems, just my sit v starts, you know what I mean? And not just ones I wish I played Shibasaki. I'm talking ones where it's should I play Duffy or Yongi, those ones you're 50-50 on, and that cost me the same amount of points.
Yeah, and to be fair, I had the exact same kind of things. I played Duffy instead of, I was tossing up Gula as a potential option. I wasn't really considering Shibasaki or Toyo or anything like that, but it just feels like actually the one that burnt me heaps, the Manly game burnt me so much. When you get that SuperCoach hangover, I got that with the Manly game when Tommy was just going off. I was how everyone's enjoying this, and I always enjoyed Tommy's scores when he goes big, and I just, why did I go against it this time?
The feeling you had last week's pretty much how I felt most of the last 2 years. Felt like not really nailing it. But
not only that, it was Olakau'atu scoring in the first 3 minutes. I had him in my side from team picker being open.
Yeah, you had him there, and I didn't have him and then ended up with him. So
and then I went to Gilbert, which I was very happy with. So I did the maths, and they pretty much produced per dollar similar points. So I'm not too mad about that. I'm happy with the Gilbert purchase. I'm just not happy about selling Olakau'atu for him.
I feel like it would have been a tough watch for you a bit last week, because even you said you didn't play Stafford Toa, and he
Stafford Toa.
What's his name?
Robert Toya.
Yeah, that's right. Stafford Toa's on the lips because he's back in the team list. You didn't play him, and then very early in the game he had that breakthrough try assist as well. So it would have been a bit of that going on for you last week.
Well, yeah, he was part of my tipping point, and I tipped him to go under 45. So back to tipping point, the score is 1-1. And
Grant got some back, did he?
Yeah, so it's the field versus me, because obviously you guys are in and out every week. Let's just talk on that. I haven't really announced it on the podcast, but you're going to be in and out a lot more.
More in than I was going to be. Going into this season, I think I was probably only going to do one a month, just with how busy I sort of am with work, but just shuffling things around. Probably going to look at doing every 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is what the pundits love. They also love Grant too. Grant's
good form. He's smart, so it's a nice break up from hearing my dopey thoughts.
Well, both of us are pretty dopey. So. But what'd you end up on? What's your rank?
Ended up on 1275, rank 19,000 and something. So it's a bit mixed.
That's pretty good.
Mixed feelings, because I feel like when I look at my scores and the way I scored my points, really happy with the way it played out. Like I feel like everyone kind of did their job. There's a couple of players that I'm unhappy with, like that didn't go as well as I would have liked, like Ali Leotau that you also had. A few other little things, like, Duffy obviously as well that I played. But for the most part, like where I spent my money, they've done their job. Like spent a lot of money at centre wing, they've spent a lot of money at second row, and they performed. So I'm a little bit nervous because a lot of them actually scored a try as well. But I mean, none of my players I felt like were any of those guys that went absolutely ham. They just did their base and scored a try.
Yep.
Which is like, Elalu Kawatu, Skelton, Marju, those sorts of guys.
Yep.
They could have gone more, but if they don't score their tries, then there's a bit less there. So I don't know how to feel about it yet. I'm happy with my balance though.
Yep. Anyone from the weekend that you kind of thought,
bit off him?
Should have got him.
Oh,
Should have got him, and vice versa.
Yeah, Reece Walsh.
Yep.
Yeah, instead of Yongi.
Yep.
And I know that Yongi scored the late try there.
He looked good too.
Yeah, so I backflipped. I reckon I was probably the most on the fence about the Yongi, the three-gun fullbacks in all of Supercoach, to be fair. It was doing my head in. I flipped it a couple of times just before kickoff. I was set on going with Walsh, and then I saw him slipping over a fair bit. And I was like, if you want to start fast, and he just puts out a 30, 40, 50, and he's slipping over all the time, it's not going to happen, then your balance is wrong. So I just scrambled it around. And also I heard Madge say something to the effect going into the game, to the presser or whatever, like Reece Walsh is, he's a real team player. He's going to put the team first this year. And to me, this way he sort of said that made me sort of think less sort of chancing the risky, flamboyant plays and sort of just going for the more high percentage plays and sort of trusting in the rest of the side that they can also deliver in those sorts of respects. So I thought, and I just had overthoughts. I pulled back on it. But yeah, watching Brisbane play, I'm very nervous not to have a part of him now. And like, I think for a lot of you guys that do have the three guns, probably will end up selling Ponga and then still have Walsh. And so I'm sort of like, oh, geez.
Yeah, like being honest, I guess, like watching Walsh, I was very happy with it. Don't get me wrong.
Could be more in that scoreline.
I think what they produced through the middle, they were producing their points through the middle. And mind you, it was a Roosters side who depleted through the middle. So maybe in later games they attacked the edges a lot more. But I was actually pretty... He had less involvements than I expected him to.
Big time.
Still scored 95 in a team that scored 50. You would have expected him to score more, but I'm still quite happy. Like I feel like he took the opportunities he needed to, barring that one try assist that he didn't ice.
Yeah.
I was a bit worried, but I'm happy in the team, and the fullback is always a crucial part of one of these teams. So I'm pretty happy with him. I'm happy with the three-gun fullback.
Gilbert's another one. I could have gone him instead of Seafarth. I actually could afford it. I've got the 40K sitting there.
Yep.
I just thought, that I wasn't big on Seafarth, but everyone else was, and I was just like, there must be something to this, you know what I mean? And then sort of looked at the stats, and I was like, it does look okay. I didn't think he had the upside, but watching him play, I said he's at halftime. I mean, he's a dud.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, he not as an NRL player, or just for Supercoach. I'm not trying to be ham on him just as an option. I'm just like, he's a dud. Like, it just wasn't. He wasn't. The commentators didn't call his name once in the first half. You didn't hear his name.
Yeah, he was on like 3 after like 10 minutes. It was ridiculous. 10, 20 minutes. It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
fun fact, his brother's actually a pap, in the paparazzi. So, so I knew his brother before I knew him. And when he came onto the scene, I was like, this guy must be a pretty okay footy player. But I didn't realize he'd be that good.
Yeah.
I knew his brother and his brother's like a real I wouldn't say famous pap, but like he used to snap some of the really big dogs back in the day.
Paris
Still does.
Hilton and Millsy or something photos.
Oh, every time there's a big person in town, he knows where they are. So,
so he did have the HIA Seafarth, which he probably would have maybe went closer to a 50, maybe closer to a 50, and he's probably still not that much of a rush out. I don't know what I'm doing with him yet. Whether I'm going to have another look or not.
I do have plans for him, so I'll touch on that later and we can have a chat with it. But I want to move on to tactics versus using trades versus holding trades. Where do you sit on the fence? And I guess just speaking about your team in particular, what are you not happy with that you feel like you could use to attack? And do you feel like you are better off holding trades or using trades at this point of the year?
My instinct tells me that I should make a trade or two, at least if I can, just to anticipate what trades I may want to make next week. Like sort of if I want to make 4 trades and I could have made one of them this week that I was certain of, then that frees up those other 3 trades I can make with a boost next week. But I'm just not 100% certain which way I want to go about things. I feel like I really would love another week to watch things play out, but I also don't want to miss out on, maybe wanting to offload 2 players and trying to pick up another 2 players. So yeah, tactically, price-wise, like where I feel like I could change things up. I've got Connor Watson. I decided to start with him at hooker. I know a lot of people put him in second row. I just thought, look, I'm just going to put him there, and if he goes good, then I've got him there, and I'm not taking the cheapy hooker score. I've just got him there, so I might as well just put him there, and then I can move him around to things if I need to. And the idea wasn't sure on which hooker of the cheapies, other than Sandon Smith, that I was going to just sort of lock in. Which one do I want? After watching the first week, I think if I had to just lock one in, I'd probably say Starling. But I'd still like a bit more information, you know what I mean? I've got another week to go on that. So I might sort of maybe move I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll get to that in trades. It's a bit colluded. But, yeah, there's a bit. That's where I potentially had him in my side so I could sell him. Also could move, Ali Leotawa. But the thing is, I think you've got to sort of preference making money at this time of year. You've got to kind of jump on those cheapies that are probably going to make good money, especially if they do have a role locked down. But then also balancing that with, do I have enough attacking upside in my side or not? You know what I mean? I look at your side in a bits and pieces, and I think as much as you got Reece Walsh, the second row, which you're addressing this week, is probably where you're lacking. So I think that's where you've kind of got to make that attacking play. But I think for the most part, if you've got everything else set up, you don't just have to try bring in another guy.
Yeah. I actually sit on the other side of the fence, I guess. I think it's a time to attack for the hot players. A lot of people are getting in Payne Haas, which
I get that.
I get it. He played 50 minutes though, so
But just how we're talking preseason about how he always put in the effort, but then around Madge and around the rest of the side that are all buying into it. He's going to go to another level because he's got a reason to.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's just showed in those little runs across field doing Munster.
He was running at the second rows in the centres. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I guess with Payne Haas being the most traded in, one, it tells me people are chasing points. 2, people are looking at the eye test. I think the eye test really passed. I think the minutes, for me, it worries me. But is it a high upside play? Is that
Maybe
the upside?
Not.
Is that the upside? Maybe people think it is. Maybe people are moving Tino down second row and bringing him in, which I like. But it also depends who you're selling. If you're selling a Seafath, great. If you're selling Kelman Tuolangi, great. But if you're selling a gun I don't know, if you're moving heaven and earth
I've seen people keep moving Barnett, who they've started with, or something like that. That's a bit that's a 1 week thing.
Yes.
It could be the flip side where Barnett has a try assist next week, and he doesn't have as much attack as what Haas does. But yeah,
I guess for me, if you don't have Cleary, I feel like getting in Cleary is an attacking play.
Yeah, for sure.
Against the Roosters this week. And I just think attack is the way to go. I think you've got enough cheapies in your side. Unless
you can balance that out. There's total weight.
100%. Unless you've absolutely butchered your cheapies, you've got Geimer, you've got Valmega, you've got all these duds in your side, I think that's where you fix it up. But if you've started pretty slow, or you've also... you could be on either side of the fence. I think attacking, you got to think attack first, cash generation second, because the cash generation will come.
You also got to be cautious of not chasing last week's points as well, 100%. Just purely because, if you look on paper and you go, all right, Payne Haas, 108, that's his average for the year. You know what I mean? That's what he averages for the year. It's not you're not going to get that score, and just
they're not wrong.
Yeah, and Ali, Ali Leotawa, who we've got a 33, you kind of that's what he averages. He's going to end up averaging 60 plus. He will. But, you look at that and it's kind of from a price point of view, when they've got value in them too, you're kind of worrying about that other player that could get away in price, that could be out of reach. And you're worried about the guy that you've spent a bit of money on, potentially losing a bit of value. And if he does keep just putting out those plonkier sort of scores, you lose a bit of money, you miss out on the guy that's going good, you miss out on the money. So I get the panic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to sort of show it a bit of restraint and also not also sit on your hands and just be too patient. Yeah,
100%. Do you feel like the sides for Supercoach this year are very like similar? Like it feels like
no. I think it's just so unique. The sides are so unique.
Okay, good.
Oh yeah, there's a couple of cheapy wise.
I guess cheapy wise, mid-range wise.
But then that's all different too because then it's about when we all get off with them, who holds on to them. Then there's guys that may not get named this week, but they're back next week and stuff. And people hold on them. Then it all goes on different paths with that. So it doesn't matter we've got the same ones. But when it comes to guns, everyone's got different players everywhere.
True.
Maybe, look, everyone's got Turbo and Ponga that are kind of, that we sort of looking at their sides because of people we associate with. There's a lot of general players that just have my boss has got Drinkwater and Ponga. You know what I mean?
Oh, he would have hated that for the first 20 minutes.
So a bit behind, yeah. But, I think the sides are so varied, especially second row.
I think I'm just asking that question because it feels like the big guns Cleary, Turbo, Ponga.
But some have got Walsh, some have got Cleary, some have got Hines, some have got both.
Yep.
Some have got none.
Fair.
Some have got none. Isn't it like there are a couple of teams up the top that have got
DCE?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair. All right, we're going to wrap up team list and then we'll go into the break-evens, the biggest break-evens of the week, tipping point and captains, and we'll talk about our trades. So Knights versus Dolphins on Thursday night. Oren Keeley starts on the edge. Fini Fuiaki out. Lemu Elu out. And Adam Elliott comes onto the bench for the Knights. Watch on rotation for Frizzell. Not much doing there, but Fini Fuiaki out. 368K. He's very popular in Supercoach at the moment. Looked pretty good, but he's only out for till round 3 with the HIA. Thoughts?
He scored okay, so he's not someone I think you need to panic on. You'd have enough depth to play someone else in your side. Unless there's someone else screaming out by me and he's got enough value, and maybe it's someone like, maybe he's your crappiest guy in your second row and that's your way to someone like Gilbert if you want Gilbert. But I don't think it's a necessary slam dunk you have to go. There's a bit of value in price difference between them, so yeah, I'd probably just hold him if you picked him.
You did mention Gilbert, 468K, 64 on the weekend, 59 in base, played 56 minutes. What are your thoughts on him as a purchase for Supercoach?
Down date to 64?
No, he was on 64
I thought he was on 68. Okay. 68 in my head seems a lot bigger than 64.
Yeah, well, closer to 70, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds so much bigger. He was kind of someone I just felt like, maybe I just do that trade of Seafath to him and just feel safer with him getting closer to a...
Seafath.
Yeah. To a... you got me there. A 60, 55-ish. But I don't know. There's a little bit of lack upside there. And I look at it and I think, if I'm going to do something like that and I don't have Tino, why don't I spend a little bit more on Tino?
Yeah,
it's only 60K or something? Just find it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
And then I know there's a little bit of doubt, a little bit of grey area. I haven't seen it yet. Maybe do you just hold off and watch Tino and see how the minutes goes? But then if you do make a trade of someone like Seafath to Gilbert, you're kind of locking that in. You don't want to be then going next week, the only way I can really get Tino in my side now is Gilbert because everyone else are better keepers or they're too cheap to sell. You know what I mean? So you've either got to wait or make these big sort of calls.
Yeah, I guess if Gilbert scores 50 next week, what are your thoughts on Gilbert next week? You've got to think kind of along that route. Warriors play Manly. Both sides unchanged except Alawai comes in for Takiyaho. Metcalf keeps his halfback spot. Chanel Harris-Tavita keeps the 5'8" spot. Clark is back to starting lock, which means Supercoach-wise, a couple of people started with him.
Went okay.
He went okay.
I would have taken it.
47 points. Pretty good. I'd keep him.
Minutes were a bit off. But
I guess the thing here, the Manly players, are we looking at targeting any? Because they look hot, and against a Warriors side who leaked a lot of points against Canberra. Do you expect a bounce back?
Well... From the Warriors, there are at home, and then there's the factor of Manly don't travel as well as what they play at home. So there's a big switch in that factor. The Whales kind of need to bounce back a little bit, but I still feel like it's going to be a bit of a shellacking, you know what I mean? Maybe there might be a bit more resilience shown by the Warriors throughout the game, and there might be a little bit more chancing their hand in attack, hopefully for Supercoach purposes if you've got some of them. Because I think Manly are a little bit less probably I feels like they're an easier matchup than the Raiders are for them at like Las Vegas, if you know what I mean. Like Las Vegas, Raiders, big hype and themed. Raiders are pretty good with those sort of gritty defensive sort of games. Manly can let in some tries at times. They showed that last week in the back end as well. So, Metcalf, tough one. I think we could give him another week, but there's plenty of people saying that, 5'8's dead. I reckon there's a lot of good options there.
I think there is now
I think it's
too.
alive.
I think it's definitely alive. The 5'8 options on the weekend absolutely blitzed it. Like Matt Burton, 58 points. We got Dylan Brown, 73. Cameron Munster, 99. I think he's definitely one to watch for sure.
Yeah, so not rushing to sell. My thoughts on just that is not rushing to sell Metcalf and making a decision on who's the right guy to go to. Because I think if you don't have Cameron Munster, it's probably Cameron Munster, but he's got the bye this week, so you don't want to rush on that. You wait a week. If you don't have Brimson, maybe Brimson could show a lot of signs.
I like Brimson.
If you're a Cam Munster owner, you know what I mean? And then you might want to go to him. I think for Metcalf, it's a definite wait and watch. It more so just as who are we going to trade him to? And maybe he does come out of his shell and score well and we hold him, so we'll see what happens with that. Leah Tower, do you want to talk on him? We both own him. I know he's not overly popular, but I think he's at 6% owned. He's still kind of relevant. You're just making the move based on the Warriors' side. Is that where you're at?
What have you listened to? What have you seen?
I think I heard a voice chat of yours put up. You put it in the groups.
Yeah, I'm selling Leah Tower. Yeah. I'm selling him down to Arthur's.
Is it reluctant or are you just happy to do it?
Now I put in my head that I'm going to do it. I'm happy with it.
Made this, it's good.
Just because I'm going to be pretty devastated if he scores a try, goes over 60, but I think what I'm getting from it, I'm getting a lot more. I'm downgrading him to Jesse Arthurs, who 340K. I was a bit reluctant on Jesse Arthurs just because he's never averaged over 41, but I think with, like I've said it all preseason, Ben Hunt on that left edge,
it changes a bit,
I think he's going to get a lot more attacking ball, and he looked electric on that left side. The Broncos just looked hot. So
the argument against him in the past has been that average, and also he averaged that in the year that they played the grand final year against the Panthers. But this year, I do think with the Ben Hunt, that does open it up for him a bit.
They were dominant on the right side in 2023. That's where Cobbo got all that love. Or did he? He played on the right wing that year. So that's where Cobbo got all that love. So I think I was just waiting to see how many attacking stats does he get. I like Arthur's too, but I'm just nervous. It's got that. It's got the round one wall pull.
A little bit of that, but it's also he's got the Alex Johnson's about him. You know what I mean? Like, it's a risky play.
That's okay.
But you want to play him most weeks too when they've got a good draw. But it is okay. You got to take some risks.
He does have blonde tips, which I noted out before the game. So I think secretly I wanted him. I just needed to see. I can't bank on some. I said it all preseason. I can't bank on someone just to come out and just go much higher of an average than they have in the past, just based on a couple of things. I think Ben Hunt and Madge are enough to suggest things could change for him. So I'm happy to take the pump, but it allows me to go Seafarth to Olakau'atu. Yeah. And I think that's the one thing that has burnt me all weekend, not having Olakau'atu. And I think Seafarth with the HIA, we definitely can look and wait and see. I think he can do well.
Not going to hurt you not having him either.
What's the upside there? Like if he scores 50, which we would have been happy with in round one, what do we do there? If he scores 50, are we going to be happy with that? Or the fact that I can get Olakau'atu in and Leah Tower, he's in a side like the Warriors who didn't impress.
I love him as an individual, but I hate the side at the moment.
I agree, but from what I saw at Vegas, they only attacked left. And I feel like they will change things. But he's running at Cooler this week, who defensively as a centre is one of the best defensive centres.
I was thinking about it, though, as a makeup, though. He's probably going to be running at Cooler, the Burbo side, as well as Brooks.
Yep.
So it seems like a softer side than the other side. So it seems like maybe that's where they will target.
It does, but defensively, Saba's known to come in.
And Cooler might be good, but he's a big boy. And close to the line, he's going to just run over the top of him, I hope.
He is. I've sold myself on the decision.
I'm not trying to talk you out of him. No. I'm trying to talk myself into keeping him because I want to kind of sell him too.
No, 100%. But for me, he's someone who I don't need to be cute by having him in my side. I think initially I'd probably had him in my side, just trying to be too cute. I think if
I feel that too. I feel that in myself as well. But I've tried to not be emotionally attached to players at all this year. Slight little emotional attachment to him. Just that second bye, the bye when they played the Storm, there was a lot going on there for him. 2 try assists, 2 tries, and it was off its guts. And I was just a trial. But
and you're showing me at Panthers. You're showing me the replay. Also, I haven't seen you since then. That was a massive day out.
Yeah, you're off your head.
Yeah, we ended up playing poker that night.
No, I played poker. You're like, so you're like, I'm going to play poker. I'm like, do you even know how to play poker? And then so I asked the people, how long is this event going to go for? It was going to go to midnight. You were you basically were just in your hotel room after about 5 minutes sending me a photo of yourself. And I'm like, look what he's got me stuck into. I was there to midnight. I was making the final table. Like, I've got to work tomorrow. I don't know why he called me into this.
Yeah. I just don't like the etiquette at the table. Yeah, they like get snappy at you for bloody doing something a little bit
poker
wrong.
Players, I don't like it. That's why I started playing online. You have to deal with the people and the shenanigans.
Yeah, anyway, Penrith versus Roosters. Brian To'o returns. Nice little pod there potentially. Is playing the left side, I would assume. Alamotti to centre, McLean to wing. We've got Luron Patea.
It's the other McLean, isn't it?
Sorry?
Other McLean too.
Casey.
Is it Jesse? I thought Casey was... It was Jesse.
Well, that was over a week ago, so...
I don't know. I thought I heard it on the radio.
No, Casey McLean's on the wing.
Okay, I thought I heard on the radio it was Jesse, my bad.
Yeah, sorry. Luron Patea goes to the extended to make way for Garner going to the bench. Nav White for the Roosters starting prop. Sua Wong starting edge. Salesi for Keddy starting lock. No Butcher, no Radley, no Lenu, no Ticker for the Roosters. I think this could be a smash up. It's at Penrith's home ground of Comback. What are you playing there?
Oh, and that just came up on my phone. I was just trying to watch. I was just trying to look through the NRL app.
I thought you were trying to play like Hell's Bells or something like that.
Just playing a game on my phone.
Not much here. I feel like Brian Tottle's that type of player that potentially could be that attacking play.
I think there's a lot of vibe around him with the preseason with that little dance he did from Napoleon Dynamite. You see that dance he did?
Yeah, I saw it.
It's really cool. Very cool. Not many people could pull that off. That's very cool.
Yeah, for sure. So he could be the attacking play if you're feeling ballsy. Not much here, but Cleary. If you don't have Cleary, would you be suggesting someone to get Cleary?
Yeah, 100%. Especially because just with the Hines thing, if you got Hines, you want to be confident with him. I think you can have both, but I think if you're one or the other, and that's the only way you can do it. I would probably just make a sideways trade. If that was the only way you could make your team work, I'd feel better with Cleary just because he's all over it. Like, he was playing left, right, dominant, like all over it, and looks good. And people were a bit cautious about their returning from injury. No, that looks fine.
There's no concern at all. He's playing the Roosters, who I reckon they'll probably the worst side of the weekend. And depth-wise, they're really tested right now. Yeah. So if they get... if they get a HIA during the game, they're going to be just as bad this week.
Yeah, and I do think on the flip side, Nico, with I don't know whether he's going to get the kicking back and it was just a temporary thing for that game, whether it was an injury thing or whatever, but still it just doesn't, Trindle looks very dominant.
Nico is attacking that right side that Tom did and Jackson Purdue were at, so if you can find a way to get both.
Yeah, both probably the better way to go.
100%.
Do like DCE though.
DCE.
Don't know he'll put that up every week, but wow.
You know I didn't get him? He was in like one of my drafts just because the numbers didn't add up early on in the season against the matchups. Like, he only averaged 60, but Manly just looked really good. And, maybe you could go DCE, but especially if Hines isn't kicking, maybe their ceiling is very
similar.
bring
it back to a little. So it could be Nick, could be Cleary, and then, Hines and Cherry Evans could be a bit more on par, possibly, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Dragons versus Rabbitohs. Hamish Stewart, 198,000 front row forward, keeps his bench spot. RFM comes onto the bench for Couchman. The rest is unchanged. For the Rabbitohs, Isaiah Tass left wing.
Fuck me.
Bailey Bentley Hope to debut on the wing. Fletcher Myers at centre. Jamie Humphries keeps the halfback spot and Dodd on the extended. I do want to talk about Jamie Humphries versus Tom Duffy. Ooh, yeah. If you have Tom Duffy in your side, 198,000, obviously potentially you wait a week, but I like the look of Jamie Humphries. He made 30 tackles, 0 missed on the weekend. There's a good foundation there, and he's got attacking upside in a Rooster side. He is goal kicking too. So do you see yourself in a world where you do a sideways trade or an upwards trade from Tom Duffy to maybe next week. Is that the type of attacking play you should be looking at?
So is Dodd back this week?
He is, but he's on the extended.
Okay, sweet. So he maybe keeps that spot until... I thought that he might even go... even if he went to 14 or dummy half, he's probably going to spend a lot of time on the field.
Yep.
And he kind of looks like he's a big boy, right?
He's ready. He's
ready to go. He looks like he's going to be involved if he's on the field. So he does look very SuperCoach friendly. I kind of do like him. At the bottom dollar, though, you could be patient and just you got nothing to really lose. This Duffy's not losing any money, but
I think this week at least, especially if Duffy comes out, scores a try, has a try assist or something, you'd be kicking yourself if next week he's got a negative 35 break even or something.
He did sort of injure himself. His leg was a bit out of sorts in the second half of the game. Yeah, which I think is why he kicked the first one in front when he still already had that injury. But then, so I don't know whether it was because it was further that we didn't kick it or if it is that left versus right for... it probably is more left for right.
That's my theory. But I don't know, something tells me that it's not actually going to pan out that way.
I reckon it makes sense. Imagine if you were just like, well, if they've had the conversation, I kick at this percentage this side, or I feel confident this side, but when I'm on this side, I don't feel confident. The other one's like, well, I feel the opposite. Yeah. So how about we just talk, you know what I mean?
It does make sense. But
it does make sense.
I don't know. I just feel like one goal kicker should take the duties, right?
It's very traditional. Yeah. It seems like under twos when it's, not under twos, under sixes when you're changing.
But also, if that's the case, is that good or is it bad?
It's good for the team if they're better at kicking it. It's bad if you've got them for SuperCoach and you're like, score the other side.
Yeah, well, at least Duffy took the one from in front. So,
but I was thinking of different ways of already trying to get him out of my side after round one. I was thinking, move Sandon
Duffy?
Yeah, I was thinking, sell Duffy, move Sandon Smith down, get another hooker, you know what I mean? That's probably going to make better money. Those were the thoughts I had. So, I'm not really keen on him, but I feel like the guy deserves another go. There's nothing he could do in that game.
I think definitely Humphries is the guy, and he's an attacking player. I think we saw last year, came in, scored 100 in the bye round.
Bit concerned on job security, though. Just like there's a little bit of doubt there.
But also, if he gets named this week, he plays. He gets named next week, then I think we could say that, especially if they're winning, it's a good...
But how long are they going to keep winning for that side?
Wayne Bennett is the type of guy that will leave someone in a side. I like that he's goal kicking too, so I guess we'll see how that goes. Hamish Stewart, 198,000, scored 42 in 40 minutes last week. Did have inflated minutes because of the Ryan Couchman ACL, so I think he's one to keep an eye on. If you've got a Royce Hunt or just a dud in there, he's a nice guy to go to. I don't
be patient on it though, because he could just end up being another dud too.
Potentially, yeah. But if he goes over and scores a try this week, then he might be a good thing to shift nice and early. Cowboys versus Sharks. Kyle Donnell starts at the edge. Nano dropped. How crazy is that? So obviously they're going for a defensive outlook. The Cowboys maybe a bounce back, but dare I say the Sharks want to bounce back. The Sharks are unchanged as well. Nico Hines is a big talking point. What's your gut feel on the goal kicking? I feel he doesn't have it.
I don't think so either. It just seems less pressure.
Yep.
Less pressure, less stress causing him other issue. Yeah, I still feel like he could go, like the side's red hot. Like they look very good. So I know they're playing Penrith last week. It's probably going to look a lot different this week. So I'm pretty scared to not own Nico, to be fair, this week.
Yeah, I am too, but I think that's what we signed up for.
Yeah, I'm feel safe in the fact that I've got the other bloke. Yeah,
100%. Raiders versus Broncos. Tamale keeps his spot, but Hopowate's on the other wing. Matty Nicholson is on the bench, so Hosking owners beware. Horse is starting. We've got Tarpanay out. Broncos unchanged.
Tamale. Can we talk about him?
Yeah. You like him?
Oh, yeah, really like him. I didn't start with him.
I like him as a player.
Yeah.
He's one that I got to wait for next week, I'd say.
Yeah.
What's the deal on Savage? Hold on, let me...
Well, I think it was 2 weeks. But, yeah, so I don't know. My boss was telling me he was listening to something. It might have just been 360 or something, but was pretty adamant that they were saying that they were putting Albert Hopewadi to the centres. And I felt like that was to free up the space to put Tamale there. Otherwise, why you... maybe he's ahead of Chris. Chris is one of those guys, he's pretty good for them, but he's not like overly like elite. Do you know what I mean? He's consistent. He does a good job, but maybe he could be on the out not on the out, but lose his spot to Tamale. Thoughts on that?
Sorry.
Because I'm scared of just missing him altogether and being like, I'm worried about the job security and then him just being this guy that turns into a 500k centre wing that we've missed out on because he had such a big price rise. Tamale, yeah.
Yep. So Xavier Savage, 2 matches. So we'll get Tamale, we'll get a price rise. I think he's a decent purchase, and I like the look of him. I think like last year with Schiller, you've got to back the eye test, and if he looks really good this week.
Yeah, and he could be. The thing is, I'd just hate for him to lose his spot, and then there's other cheapies you want to kind of get, and you feel like you've got to sell him, but then he's a week or two, like he could then get his spot back. I think if you pick him up and he was his spot, you kind of got to just hold him a bit and hope he gets his spot back due to injury or something, because I feel like there's a lot of cash to be made in him.
I think you've got to wait till next week to buy him. Don't get him this week. I think the eye test, hopefully Albert Hopewade doesn't have a blinder and he does this week. They are playing the Broncos though, so it's going to be a bit tricky with him. Yeah, it's just an easy wait and see. I think there's enough cheapies going around. Like at the moment, I've got...
He's so much better than some of the other ones though.
He is.
Just because there's cheapie...
Purdue?
Yes, no, Purdue. Yeah, I'm off him. I'm off him. I know it was one game too, but... Yeah, it just doesn't look to have...
How many can you have? Like, if you've got Shibasaki, Purdue, Toya...
You can have maximum 4.
And you've got Arthurs.
Ideally, I'd only want 3.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, really, like, if he's got limited job security, although he looks... Apart from Toya, maybe?
Toya's absolutely, like, slam dunk.
Yeah, slam dunk. I think he's probably just as, like...
Oh, yeah, if he keeps a spot, I think for sure. Those two are right up there. They've got that base. They've got the upside. They're tackle-busting... weapons.
Yeah, so wait a week on Tamale, but I know there's no point of getting him in early because you're going to play him against the Broncos unless you're confident that he scores against the Broncos. Like, he didn't play right side.
So that's the other thing I'm nervous about, picking up another cheapie, like someone for me, like if I could pick up like Jesse Arthurs and then be like, oh, now I've taken my 3 cheapie spots. What do I do? And then Tamale becomes such a buy next week or something, everyone's getting him and I feel like I have to get him. Then what do I sell? One of these other cheapies that's still making money, or one of my guns?
Good thing for me, I got Lucas in my centre wing. So
yeah, that's a really nice thing. That's really nice. I was so close to doing it, but just with the fact of I didn't want 3 of the Knights.
Yep.
And yeah, the 5. The price wise, I was happy to go.
So obviously the Broncos are unchanged. The Goz. What are your thoughts on the Goz?
Well, do you know what I feel like I'm the right person to ask about the Goz. You can have the Goz in your side and you can win SuperCoach with him being enough if he turns into nothing. I won SuperCoach with...
You did too.
I started with him. He was a dud all year.
Didn't play the whole year, really.
Yeah, I think I've got to use him 1 or 2 games and he might have scored under 40 or something.
Oh, I remember he got named randomly in a bye week where everyone was struggling and everyone was just like, what the hell? Timmy's got the Goz. I think he scored, like 12 points that week?
He was always 200k. I couldn't get rid of him, but he looks... Okay, minus the mullet, he looked like a bit of a pork chop up at the... Like, he didn't look like someone you'd want to have in your squad, not just based on his haircut, he just didn't look right. At the moment, he looks athletic. Like, he's shorts on his legs look like he's been pumping the leg days. He just looks like... I don't know. He just looks a bit more of a thing. But I'm not big on him because of the PPM and the tries aren't always going to be there, but...
You're just big on him because Madge is big on him, so...
Yeah, I'm probably not going to get him in my side. And I've got that little soft spot for him, but I just... And I probably could because I've got Geimer too there. I'm not going to do it just yet.
Would you do if you've got Geimer, would you do a Geimer to Goz?
Potentially if like it was still looked like that was on next week maybe.
Yep. That's definitely a trade you can do next week. And that's why I feel like if you're considering something, look at your scenarios and just think about what would have to change for you to change your mind.
Yeah, like if you put up a 30 next week, I'm off it.
Because like a lot of people
which he probably will.
Are considering selling Metcalf. If he scores a 50 or a 60, he's still going to be like, oh, because he's got that 12 in him, I still want to sell him. Or like a Leia Tower or a Alex Seyfarth. Like these guys, are you already sold on these guys? Maybe get them in early because next week you might want these other guys that we're talking about because there's so many on the market and more people might pop up as well.
You got guys that scored just a 60 or 70 that was kind of a bit under your radar last week compared to some of these bigger scores that just pop out a massive one this week. Look even, but you're like, oh, whoa. Well, look at his draw now. Whoa.
Mamazellus could come out and score 100 this week. So
hope not. Doubt it. I really don't. Yeah, hope not.
Shibasaki, a lot of people have him. Payne Haas, there's Paddy Carrigan was pretty good.
Oh, wow, big minutes. I can understand people wanting to get him in. That dual flexibility with Payne Haas, that looked like it's not an anomaly game because he's always quite good, but he has like a few games a year where he does a bit more. And he was like popping off. I think you might see that a bit more regularly this year because of the vibe of the side.
They both had try assists, but I feel like that.
True, he did have one. Yeah, he did the one for the inside ball.
Maybe it was for the Goz.
It was the Goz. Yes.
But they look phenomenal. I feel like they're both offloading too. So 640K versus Payne Haas at above 700K. Oh, I don't mind Pat Carrigan.
There's so many mad prop options too. Like if you're prepared to pay up, you've got like
stack the props. Yeah. That's the go this year. And Shibasaki, everyone's got him. Anything else we've got?
Well, not everyone, but you'd get him. Would you get him if you didn't? You would. I don't think you can expect those sorts of scores, and I think, to be fair, that's the biggest score we're going to get out of him all year.
True.
There was
he's banked that score. He's good enough cheapie, job security.
In the side, he's going to just be the recipient of being, I gave it to you, you gave it to me, and I just did a try assist.
I thought after that bloody first try that Dom Young scored, I thought he was going to get dropped instantly, just that bad read, but he lives on. Eels versus Tigers, Jordan Semrani on the wing for Jake Tungo, Sean Lane on the edge. Kelmer dropped. How crazy is that?
People were saying, if his defense is bad, he'll get dropped, and it just happened.
He was hooked after 13 minutes.
Yeah.
did you have him?
Nah.
Oh my God. I was so close to starting with him, but then...
But I feel sorry for the general super coach who's done a fair bit of homework pre-season, listening to the podcast, everyone's talking about him. May have been a little bit busy in the last week leading into it where we're hearing people going, all right, no more Kelmer. He's a bit off Kelmer now. True. And you're like, what? I've got Kelmer.
I also nearly overlooked
There'd be a lot of them.
I nearly overlooked it when team lists were announced. I still had Kelmer in my side, but then someone mentioned, do you think Moses out will affect him? And I was like, I didn't even think of that. So I'm glad someone pointed that out. I'm sure I would have caught onto it eventually, but that's just a blow on the edge. On to super coaches for sure. We've got Jack Williams starting edge again. He's someone 45 points with a line break. Had a HIA. I'm willing to see how he goes again. 455K. He's someone who can go up to like a Tino potentially, but I'm pretty happy with him, to be honest. Katonga is on the bench. Guymer on the extended is playing in reserve grade. Stafford Toll for the Tigers is in. Appy is back, so Adam Dewey, Appy, goal kicking watch, and the rest is unchanged. Anything here? Obviously, Parramatta were pretty shite.
Yeah, first thoughts on this one, just Tigers-wise. Galvin, very impressive. That 51 was good. And I think if you owned him and you weren't you're kind of too focused on all the other things going on your side, you might look at that score and go, I wanted a bit more than that. He had really no major attacking stats in there. I think there's a lot more to come. I'd feel better about having him than Luai. I know he's more expensive, but if you had one or the other, I just really think
Luai looked very good too.
He did,
I like the look of Luai.
But I just think that Galvin looks like he's going to continue with that and take it to a next level. No second-year syndrome for him.
And not only, he was roaming a lot too. Maybe overplayed his hand a little bit much, but playing the Eels this week, I think, if people are selling Metcalf, I think Galvin's a nice little shout. Didn't quite get the Supercoach points this week, but as we know from Supercoach...
swings and roundabouts.
Exactly. Katonga bench, Guymer on the extended, that hurts.
Yeah, I got Guymer.
I went him over Goz.
Yeah, I got Guymer. I thought that... I just feel like he was a good 40 guy. Even off the bench, he's just like, he'll get through it. If you give him 20 minutes, he'll get 40 points. If you give him, you know what I mean? He'll just make it work. He's a beast, but...
Why did he get dropped? Like, do you feel like he played that bad?
Not personally, no. I don't think I wasn't really paying that close of attention to him as an individual. I was probably paying close attention to other players more, like Yongi and Dillbags. But, I don't know. Maybe just a general makeup of the side. I don't think you need to rush. He could be back in the side next week too.
For sure. Bulldogs play the Titans, and Curran is in for Harry Hayes. Apart from that, they're unchanged. For the Titans, Brimson named at 6, Campbell at 7, RCG is in, Dave Fafita benched.
Wow, because poor buggers that started with him. A few people were like, I was going to do it last minute.
I think Sangster,
yeah.
Oh, my God.
I was like, there's a few people I heard that was just like last second. I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. I'm switching. And I was like, I was excited for him. So I was like, it's pretty bold.
That's a ballsy play.
Yeah, especially just with the buy factor. I know, like, I've got Brimson there and he's on the buy too, but I just thought you could hide him a little bit better. But yeah, that sucks for them, but maybe he still comes on and rips and tears. He was okay off the bench at times.
Yeah.
Still last year.
I think he will be, but I think hopefully we get a bit of a price drop and then it does start eventually. The thing that intrigues me is two things. Tino starting at lock with a 4-forward bench. So I'm interested to see how that plays out.
Do you reckon
minutes-wise?
Could change his minutes-wise at all? Like,
I think there's a good chance he plays 50, not 70, like he has in the past. Yeah. Like kind of what Payne Haas is doing.
Eased in, yeah.
Could play even less in the first week. So
I'm a bit nervous about. Like, I kind of want to do it, like just because
I'm happy to wait. I don't. To be fair, he could come out and score a try against the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs is who he did his ACL against too.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. And Jaden Campbell at number 7. I really like him.
Oh, I had him last year, because you know those ones that you have last year that they kind of didn't completely do it for you.
Yeah.
From like when you're in that sort of boat and you owned them last year, it's kind of like you need to see them take it to that next level for me to consider them, because I've been sort of burnt a little bit by him. Although he was elite last year, there was just a couple of headaches there for me with him.
Dave Fafita owned by 3,000 people.
It's not that many, is it?
Probably not that many. All right, we're going to move on to we're going to look at break-evens, which I think we've already covered a lot of players, but we'll just go over it again and then we'll do our trades and tipping point. But firstly, this podcast is brought to you by Carl McGrath Accounting. Get Carl to do your tax return and he'll legally maximize your tax refund, whether it's just a basic tax return or accounting for things like rental properties, capital gains, or share trading or crypto trading. No job is too big or small. If you have an individual small tax return right through to businesses run through company, partnership, or trust, or even self-managed super funds, Carl can help you out. Being a small business, you'll be speaking directly with the owner who will do your work. No work is done overseas or done by junior staff. Being small, he has very few overheads, so he can pass the savings on to his clients. If you need more than just a tax return, Carl can help you out for price, all aspects of accounting like BAS lodgement and data entry. Mention the SuperCoach experience if you do have a more complicated tax return, and you can he'll sort you out for the price. Timmy goes to Carl for his accounting needs.
Indeed, I do.
And did you get a good, nice little return?
No, I had to pay the tax agent $100, but that's got nothing to do with Carl. That's got to do with my student loan, but that's fine.
Well, he would have had to pay a lot more if it wasn't for Carl.
Oh, that's right, yeah. I'd have the debt man come and knock on my door.
Carl's details are in the description. His number is 0401 044 839. He's a keen Supercoacher, so he will talk your ear off about Supercoach. He is in our WhatsApp chat for our Patreon group as well.
Nice.
So he's already been in there asking questions here and there. So hit up Carl for all your accounting needs. We're just around the corner from tax season, so make sure to head over to Carl. All right, where are we now? We are, TLT summary, chasing break-evens. So we've already kind of touched on it. We've already touched on the cheapies and a lot. I just want to go through the break-evens list just to make sure that we're covering all bases, and we need to see where we're at. So the biggest, and I've got the Fafita filter on here with owning. So let's just, all right, so the top 10 break-evens, let's go through it. So Robert Toya, -49 break-even. Gehamat Shibasaki, number 2, -36 break-even. I think a lot of people have them already in their side. They are quite highly owned. Xavier Salage and Tamale, -27 and -26. Savage is out for 2 weeks, so we're not going to consider him. Jesse Arthur's -24 break-even. We've talked about him, that attacking edge for the Broncos alongside Ben Hunt. Do you think he's a must? Do you think, obviously,
I don't think he's a must. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, if he was scoring, like 90s every 3 weeks, then he'd be pretty close to, especially if you could pick the weeks he was going to do it based on matchup and stuff like that. He was like one of those Alex Johnson sort of plays when you pick him up quite cheap and they've got that mad run and they just dominate sort of a side. But, yeah, I think it depends. I mean, there's a lot of good cheapies. So if you had, Tamale and you had Toya and Tamale kept his spot and... Maybe not, because there are other ones there. I can't think of off the top of my head, but the very bottom dollar that actually went well. Shibasaki as well.
Shibasaki and
yeah.
Tamale. Yongi, -22. Do you feel like Yongi owners are on top? I think they are.
I think it's even. But I mean,
you think so?
Based on the fact of points wise, it's a win for the fact that he got that points against Melbourne, and I was expecting 30, 40 at best. Maybe that score if he got lucky with an attacking stat, which he did. So that is a win. And
he looked good enough, though, so I'd be confident playing him moving forward.
Yeah, for sure, definitely, especially now that you've got past that game. Like, I think that there's that enough in him in his attack. But, yeah, I think it's even just in the fact that Walsh and what they could do. I know he was capped at a 90 score in a 50-point game, but it just takes another game for him to be involved in a little bit more. And he could go from being that guy that we go, he's capped at 90 to 100, and he could be putting out 130s, 140s in that side. I
think that's what you're after with the 3-gun fullbacks. Iongi is the kind of guy where maybe 100, but these other gun fullbacks, you expect a little bit more. So
hard to read, and not in as a good a side as well.
Yeah.
So that's,
I think it's pretty even at the moment. Maybe Yongi owners on top. Good. The guys, -19 break even. Keen to see him for another week. He played 80 minutes and only had 32 in base. So I'm keen to see him for another week and just reassess. Tupanua, -16 break even. He's been on the most traded in list this week. 425K. Did look pretty good.
Wow.
I think... For me, I'd love to see when Curran comes back what his role is.
Yeah, the role's the problem, isn't it? And coming off the bench and having those 2 other second rollers. I know he was coming through the middle a bit more, but yeah, with Curran being there, what is it? How do the minutes change? And he's never going to be scoring 2 tries again in a game when he's coming off the bench.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe if he's starting, but not coming off the bench.
He only played 42 minutes as well, so I think for me, he's someone who... Probably just a massive round 1 wall pull for sure.
Yeah.
Christian Tuipulotu, -15 break even. I think that left edge for the I think he's going to be a good thing. 550K.
Yeah.
Left edge for the Dragons.
Mad energy about him. I like the vibe. I love
I loved that, I thought that was really good.
That's mad.
They play the Rabbitohs this week, who are pretty depleted, but they'll have the debutant on that wing, so... I think he's a pretty good play, to be honest, but they do have the bye the following week. So for me, I probably want to avoid someone like that. Jack Howarth, -9 break even. He looked amazing on the weekend. 99 points.
That's the one that's annoying for me because
91?
He was in my side all year, and then I just kind of got off him because I thought, I don't think he's got the upside.
Yeah.
I know he's pretty good for that consistent sort of 50, but then when I look back on his scores last year, he had like a few scattered 30s amongst battered decent scores, and that put me off. But, yeah, he was looking pretty good on the side, obviously, and great price. But, yeah, he went better than all my other mid. Skelton and Marju, so I was happy with who got that one try, and he's at sort of 1K, 1,000K, 100K cheaper.
Yep. He was someone who was in my side a lot in the preseason, but ultimately it came down to bye round 2, Penrith round 3. So
that was probably a factor, yeah.
And if he didn't score well this week, it wouldn't have been worth it. He did, so you probably take it for sure. But I think for me, he's definitely someone I'll target.
He's pretty heavily owned too. He's like 25%. He was really talked.
Wow.
He was talked about big time in preseason chats too. So
he's someone I'll probably target
after the bye potentially.
After the Penrith game, maybe. There's not many else on the list that are worth talking about. There's Pappy. Is Pappy back potentially? 600. He looked just as good.
Yeah.
He looked back to his best.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him run that quick since probably the injury against Canberra a couple of years ago.
I was kind of I was happy for him because he's been out of the game for so long. And I know he's not heavily owned, but I was just kind of annoyed seeing his head mop around. So I was like, Because,
Yeah.
it's been hard. You couldn't have him in your side for so long, and now he's like,
Now he's
become
back.
relevant.
He was really nice to own back in the day when he was at his peak.
And kicking. Yeah.
Adam Reynolds, -3 break even. Can't really. Do you want to talk about him?
Not when you've got. I mean, he's potentially an option with just how good the Broncos are.
Yep. He actually looks fit too. Like he doesn't look like he's carrying anything. At the
I
moment,
know what
even
you
though
mean. He doesn't look that hobbly, sort of. Yeah. So possibly, but I just think when you've got Cleary, you've got Hines, and then there's that DCI just feels a bit better of an option. Maybe not.
For sure. There is one I do want to touch on for the Manly Sea Eagles. Tofofa Sipley, 368,000. Scored 71 on the weekend. His break even is 2.
Had a try though, yeah.
Had a try assist, not a try.
Did he score? I could have sworn I saw him score.
73 points. He only played 39 minutes, but he did score a try. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was like, come on. Yeah, right, good.
Sorry, I remember it being a try assist for some reason. But yeah, 73 points, 40 minutes. I think you got to see the game without a try though. Tom Starling, 7 break even. He's someone I like, but yeah, cool.
Tom Starling, yeah. Of those cheapy guys, I think there's the upside there. There's a little bit of reluctance about Owen Paddy being there and how much.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like he got 19 minutes, Owen Paddy, and it says that Starling got 68. So I don't know. Was there a little bit of a crossover with them?
Yes, they're both on the
Starling
field
played a little bit in the middle.
Yeah.
I think he's got the upside there. He's probably the best second hooker, if not going to be the number one. Like if you don't have it, I'm potentially, if I was going to have him, would be my number one starting hooker. He'd be a great second hooker too. So I think he's a great buy.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's go to the tipping point. I haven't decided who's going to be on the tipping point, but I think Payne Haas has to be one because he's the most traded in player this week. I think the 2 captains will be Turbo and Cleary. And then let's go 2 cheapies. Let's go the Gods and Tamale.
Sure. Yeah, they're good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or do you want to do like
another guy?
Alex Seafarth?
Maybe.
Yeah,
You
Seafarth.
could maybe chuck him in, but who would you pull out? The guys?
Tamale,
Yeah. Cool.
Goz, and Seafarth. All right. Did I start with Yongi? 1, 2.
I don't think
3.
you had him in that mix, no.
So Haas. All right. Payne Haas. Let's start him at 60.
Go over 60 and go to 65.
I'll go over 65 and go over 75.
I'm going to go under 75.
Ooh. Maybe I was pushing that.
I don't know whether I should be going. I think it could be like a 75 to 88.
50 minutes. 50 minutes. And playing a Canberra side. No Tarpanay though, so yeah.
Yeah, that's a big factor.
Tom Trebojevic against the Warriors at Mount Smart, New Zealand, or whatever it's called now. Let's go 75 points.
Go over 75, go to 80.
I'll go over 80 and I'll go over 90.
I'll go over 95.
I'll go over 97.
How hard was it to get to a ton last week? I'll go under.
Yep. I'm happy with that. Over 97. Nathan Cleary. Let's start at 100.
Start at 100.
Yep.
And what are you doing?
You want me to go?
You normally say, don't you? Do you normally take the...
Oh, no, you go straight after me, so you can do lower and we can battle for lower. Or should I start lower?
Awkward number, bro.
No, I'll start lower, 75.
Okay, good.
That makes it easier for both of us.
Yeah. I'll go to 80.
I'll go to 90. Yeah, I can't comprehend going down, like fighting to go down.
Do Geez, I'm on the unders, aren't I? I feel like they could open a real can of whoop ass. Yeah, no, I'll go to 98, over 98.
I'll go over 99.
I'll go over 100.
What makes you think that's it? You look. I'll go over 108.
I'll go under 108.
All right. Oh, I'm going all the overs here. Are you pushing me?
Mm-hmm.
The gods. Let's start at 25.
I'll go over 25 and go to 28.
I'll go over 28 and go over 30.
I'll go over 30 and go over 33.
Oh. I'll go over 33, go over 35.
I'll go I'll go under.
I'm happy with that. I wasn't going to go much further, though. Alex Seafarth versus the Parramatta Eels. Let's start at 30.
Do 3?
30.
I'll go over 40.
Ooh, I'll go over 42.
I'll go over 45.
I'll go under.
Oh, I've got one over.
Yeah, I don't like playing that way. I don't like having too many overs. This is what you did last year, where you just I
switched up. This year.
You're pushing me.
I'm playing for the boys as well now.
You are.
We can't have 3 of us running around with Kafusi head cuts.
I've definitely got to do the cheeseburger challenge by the end of the year too.
Right, that's going to happen.
I've got to.
Macca's are going to go out of business before you go in.
All right. What are your trades this week?
Up in the air, hey. I think it centres around sells. So I'll tell you potential sells first. There'd be potentially selling Seafarth, potentially selling Leah Tower, but probably wanting to hold on a week, especially if you're going to sell him. You know what I mean? Just at least give it one more week if you're selling him. Could centre around selling Connor Watson, not because I'm overly disappointed with him, but I never really wanted him to start with. It was more about trying to decide who I wanted in that role and wanting to have value to sell down to. The people I could be buying this week could involve Starling at hooker. I could end up getting Gilbert in, like a straight swap for Seafarth or something like that. Outside of that, I mean, there could be the Tino thing. I could just rush Tino in instead of a Gilbert. That feels like where I'm at. But then I look at what I can actually do with my side. When I sell Watson to Starling, then I sell Seafarth to. I can buy someone like. I could buy someone like just the first one that popped up was what's his face, beautiful hair, Carrigan. I could afford him. You know what I mean? And I was like, geez, I could boost that up. And you start to think but then it's like that money's for other things. That money's not for that. You can't be spending that money yet. That kind of Watson money is not for that. It's for other things. So yeah, I'm probably going to be conservative in my trades. I might end up just picking up someone like Arthur's too. I'm really scattered with it, and I wanted to be more decisive this year. It was one thing I wanted to be, once I make my decision, I'm going to lock it in and be happy with it. But I want to sort of make my mind up quicker than I have in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just not there yet.
Well, I guess that's me, and that's what I've been for a long time. I know my trades by Monday usually. It doesn't usually change from there. I've gone Leotawa to Arthur's and Seafarth to Olakuatu, which I'm really happy with. This time last year I boosted, and I'm not sure. I don't think there's a world where I'm going to do that, because I feel like I do need to just like.
I love that from you, because I personally thought that with your score was overly terrible just because it was less than mine. You know what I mean? I thought you'd be like, I've got to boost. You know what I mean?
You know what?
So I like that from you.
You know what? Being in the top 100 for most of the year last year, majority of the year, it was a real reality check seeing 5 numbers on your rank when lockout came out, 67,000.
It's a weird feeling, isn't it? Yeah.
But
I know that happened to me the year after I won. I was like, well, go back to this one.
And pretty much all week I was thinking, I'm not going to make trades this week. I don't need to. But I can't go too far away from what made me do well last year. Like, yeah, I did go really hard, and maybe I'm just a bit...
I think that's a good move. I think you need to strengthen second row, whether it's Olakau'atu, and I think Olakau'atu is the guy because the jaw's really good.
The thing is, like, Lucas is pretty much second rower anyway, so, like, he's in my centre wing.
You could move him up, but that doesn't mean you have to go without Olakau'atu.
Yeah, exactly,
I think you've got a bit too much middle-y.
Yeah,
too much
exactly.
middle-y
And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, where's the attack coming from here? Like, why aren't I being aggressive? Why have I gone for all these basic guys? And I've corrected.
Do you know what I think it was? To be fair, and I was pretty much close to it. I just couldn't decide between all of them, and I wanted to fit all these guys in. It's like, so I found a way. I was at that point fitting them all in, and I was like, hold on, I'm missing out on a few guns here.
And you know what it was for me? I really liked Gilbert, and I didn't consider not having, Alex Seafarth. I didn't consider not having Jack Williams. And it feels
the
like...
leadership group. I love that from you.
I love that. And Olakau'atu's in the leadership group this year. So,
awesome.
So
welcome.
That's what I'm doing. But I also really wanted Dylan Lucas. I think Dylan Lucas was a must-have in the position.
I love him as an option. I just couldn't do the dynamic of three of them with the bye in round 4. I really want to pick him up at some time. He seems so safe for a 70 because he always seems like he's got at least one attacking stat in him, whether it's a line break assist, a try assist. He's got something in him.
He's running at Oren Keeley this week, which I'm very happy with in a Dolphins side at McDonald Jones Stadium. So I'm very happy. I'm very excited to own him this week. Captains. VC Turbo, Captain Cleary.
Yeah. I don't think I could find anything else outside of it. Maybe you could get a little bit cheeky with Ponga. Ponga could have a big one this weekend.
Ponga has not scored below 109 against the Dolphins. 100 and something against.
Could have a big, especially because everyone else is going the other way, and it could still sort of sit within that. But
do you think maybe VC Ponga C Turbo could be the play?
It could be, because while Cleary's still probably going to have a mad game, sometimes it doesn't always translate. Like sometimes the assists come elsewhere through through Dill Edwards and stuff like that. And he's just had a mad game across the park. But I just think in that game, there's probably going to be pretty open, hey?
It's not a week to be cute. Just make sure your pods are on and your reserves.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
And I guess that puts us on to the reserves. Who you're sitting, who you're starting.
Okay.
So this week, I'm probably going to play Emre Gula. Yeah. Just because I feel like he's a nice little option. Maybe Lockie Hubner. I'm playing Jack Williams, Kobe Hetherington. Sorry, I'm playing Jack Williams, Lockie Hubner, Tom Duffy, and Reece Walsh at the moment. I'm leaving out Luke Metcalf. I'm leaving out Shibasaki, Purdue, Toya. I'm leaving out Charlie Geimer, obviously. Maybe I leave out Kobe Hetherington for Gula because I feel like Hetherington was saved by 2 line breaks. Yeah,
I feel like he's not as great as, that's a bit orky. So, especially when the other guys are carrying playing such big minutes there too. So my bench will be reserves, will be Yongi, Robert Toya, probably Metcalf, just purely just on value. He's better than some of the other guys. Then probably Nafahu White. But I might look at even doing Shibasaki and just rolling it because, if he doesn't have a great game, worst case scenario, maybe it's a 20-30, which could be just 10 points off what a White would get in a good game where he's, you know what I mean? So maybe I'll just take the risk and go the upside of a Shibasaki or something. I'd like to get to the point where my starting 15's pretty strong. My 13's very strong. My starting 13 is very strong. My 15's pretty strong, but then there's 2 cheapies each week that I'm like, ooh.
It's very similar to myself. It kind of sucks that these cheapies don't really have good matchups. Like Toya against Penrith, it's probably the only side apart from Melbourne that you wouldn't play Toya against now. Yeah, I still feel okay about him because I just think he's going to have runs and he's just got tackle busting. And it doesn't matter how good you are in defence, he'll just be like, boom, see you later. True. Cool. All right. Not going to be a big score, though. I guess. True. All right. That's it. Cool. Is that it? Yeah. Just fire up. All right. Good luck with your SuperCoach. Q&A comes out tomorrow. Join the Patreon and be part of the chat. Catch ya.